doing all the other stuff. Joe, did you start the recording? My man, look at you go. Look at you. Third day of this. Fourth day of this. He's already cooking. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, fourth day. Yeah.
Look at
It's starting to feel real natural now. Here we go.
Great.
This is awesome.
Great. We're really cooking with gas. Appreciate everybody listening on the free Odyssey app. Anyone on ESPN 1320 AM, hello, good morning. When you get out of the car, doesn't mean you have to stop listening. We've got the free Odyssey app. You've got youtube.com/ESPN1320, twitch.tv/ESPN1320. So many different ways to listen to this program. And of course, the James Ham and Kyle Madsen Show podcast available wherever you get your pods. It's this show in podcast form. You want to re-listen to something, you want to catch up on something, maybe you're on vacation and you need an on-demand listening listening apparatus, avenue, lane. We got you there at the James Ham and Kyle Madsen Show podcast. Download and subscribe today. If you're a listener there, by the way, hello. Hope the future's going well. Thursday, best day of the week. Here's what we're going to do today, man. The Kings lost to the Nuggets last night, 116-110. And I know that generally we do the no moral victories. Hey, we don't do moral victories here, but you know what? To hell with that. I'm saying yes to moral victories today.
Heck yeah.
Because look, dude, here's the deal. Should they have won last night? Yeah, probably. Game was there for the taking. Mm-hmm. You're up, whatever it was, 17 at the half, 15 at the half. You're up a bunch at the half. And you had opportunities late in that game to kind of steal it back. But the takeaway for me was, man, Denver is still, like, they're not the machine they were a couple of years ago, but this is kind of what they do. They're going to plod along. They have the best player in the universe. And if a couple of other guys start to hit some shots and you start missing some shots or you start turning it over and they get out in transition, they're just a really tough team to beat. If they went to the finals this year, I don't think anybody here would be surprised.
No, I wouldn't be surprised at all if this team represents a Western Conference. We said that like 2 weeks ago. We said it yesterday. When the build up to this game, this is a team that, like, they're third in the league in 3-point shooting and first in the league in 2-point field goal percentage.
Yeah, man, they're good.
Yeah, they get to the basket all the time. The points in the paint, I thought the Kings did a really good job of limiting. It was 56-52. You lost the points in the paint battle, but you could see, like, when Russell Westbrook gets downhill, you're in trouble. Like, he's just an exceptional athlete still. And, when Jokic starts to cook, when he gets anywhere near the basket, there's nothing you can do to stop him.
Nope. I thought the Kings had a great plan defensively.
Yeah, really intriguing, wasn't it?
They did. They just walled him off. It was like, cool. If you get him the ball, we're going to make his life hell.
Yep.
And, I mean, it worked for a while. But again, if you keep throwing the same pitch at the Nuggets, eventually, especially a player like Nikola Jokic, you're going to figure it out. And I think that's just kind of what happened. The Kings didn't hit enough shots down the stretch, and we've got gripes, we've got nitpicks, and we'll get to those for sure. It wasn't like, wow, what a great game, amazing game. The Kings are going to win the championship now. No. But I watched the Kings last night and did not think they had that type of performance in them in that spot. I was deeply concerned that they were going to go lose by like 25.
Oh, no, I thought so too. Like, they're potential was there, especially with no Monk and no Sabonis.
Yeah.
Right. And not only that, it's the end of a 4-game road trip, but the 4-game road trip was a really long road trip. And I know that people don't care because they're in 5-star hotels and they fly private jets, but, like, that's a long time to be away from family and everything else. And so, yeah, I thought they put in a really, really good effort. And sometimes you lose to a team that's, like, realistically, they're better than you. And they had all of their pieces, or at least most of their pieces, in place. And, like, there is something as like a moral victory in this, and having a good game where maybe you could have won it, but at the same time, they're at home, they're at elevation. There's so many things about playing in Denver that are just a mess. Yeah. And I thought the Kings did a really good job. Yeah, man. And that's so, like I said, I know that there are people listening right now who are like, to hell with that. You got to win every game. But the reality is, if sports were as black and white as you win or you lose and that's it, there would be none of this. There would be no sports media. Yeah. Just tell me what the score was and I'll make my assessment. That's ultimately what matters. Whichever team wins the last game of the season is the champion. And that's what, like, in that sense, it's black and white. But right now, like,
there's so much gray area.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm choosing to exist in the gray area here. Would you have preferred a win? Absolutely. A win puts you at, where would they be if they won last night? 33-28. They'd be in 8th.
Okay.
They'd be a game back of the Timberwolves. Half a game back of the Timberwolves? Doesn't matter.
They are in 8th place right now, right?
They're 9th.
Oh.
They're behind the Clippers.
Oh, okay.
Half a game back. Game back in the loss.
I just refreshed. There we go.
Yeah,
now
game
I
back
see
in
it.
the win column.
Yeah.
But still, no, you would have preferred to win last night, no doubt. And we'll get to our gripes and our nitpicks and the reason they lost. But I was, especially in that first quarter, you hang up 42 points in the first quarter against that Denver team is super impressive, especially without Malik Monk in the lineup. They didn't have enough down the stretch, and they lost to a really good team. That happens sometimes. I'm still walking away from last night feeling way more sure about the Kings than I was 2 weeks ago. They finished that road trip strong to me. You would have preferred to win, no doubt. I'm not saying that losing is good. They played well enough in Denver to make me think, okay, arrow's still pointing up. That wasn't a calamity where we're like, oh, hey, maybe they were just beating bad teams. Like, no, they beat the hell out of some bad teams, and then they went to the wire with a really good team, and the ball didn't bounce their way. I am, last night for me, in this path toward a playoff spot, last night was a step forward, I thought.
No, I think so too. And some of the reasons why I feel that way. Number one, I thought Jonas Valanciunas was incredible filling in for Domantas Sabonis. Number two, I think that Jake LaRavia, if we back up to the game before and he stuck around and played in the fourth quarter for a few minutes and started hitting some shots, that carried over. And all of a sudden, Jake LaRavia was absolutely incredible in the first quarter. Like in the whole first half, he had 15 points, but in the first quarter, 11 points, he was off the charts good. And so there are things that I can pull from this where you got better as a team, where people got to play in specific positions where, they may or may not have like made an impression. And I definitely think that like at the end of the day that there were some good things that happened in this game that when you do have your full team will actually help you. And there is potential for this thing to get better.
I want to talk about the officiating briefly.
Okay.
I've already seen it. I've taken one peek at the Chatty House. Good morning, Chatty House, by the way. I did not get to go through, and we didn't get to say good morning to everybody like we normally do. I got off to a little bit of a late start. But hello, everybody. Good morning. I hope you're well, except Manny. Joking. Love you, Manny. I already see the officiating coming up. It obviously wasn't great last night. I think the bigger problem than the calls themselves were the Kings letting the calls impact how they were playing. And that's something we've talked about before. And this is not exclusive to the Kings. I think a lot of teams do this. But I wouldn't have been like, wow, what an amazingly well officiated game. I didn't think that, but I did not walk away after the game going, man, they got hosed. There were other problems for me than the referees.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, the referees played a role.
No doubt.
But I also, like, in all honesty, like, mention it once, mention it twice at the Kings have not taken a free. They took one free throw in the second and third quarters combined, I believe.
It was not great.
But then it just kept getting mentioned again and again and again. At the end of the game, the way the free throw discrepancy is like 30-14,
30-14.
But at the same time, how many, like maybe 6 of those came in the last couple of minutes of the game where you were fouling people, putting them to the line, putting them on the line and all that stuff.
There's 30-14, the final free throw discrepancy. Jamal Murray by himself took 15. Jamal Murray took more free throws than the Kings did?
Oh my gosh.
That's wild.
Well, I also thought, like, look, like Keon Ellis had some really bad fouls.
That's okay. So thank you. I got lost in the box score here for a second, but that's just it.
Yeah.
There were a couple. I think there was one really egregious call that DeRozan didn't get that really sticks out in my mind.
Yeah.
Where he was going to the basket, left side of the basket, and he goes up. He just got hammered and no call late in the game, and that's bad. Like that's undoubtedly bad.
Yep.
But it wasn't, for me, it wasn't like, wow, they're getting into their offense and they're not scoring because they're just getting hammered on that end and there's no call. That wasn't the takeaway for me with the Kings offense.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, again, you have the Keon Ellis in the backcourt foul, which was like, what are you doing?
The one where he reached on Jokic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just grabbed him and reached around him. He fouled him.
Yeah, it was a clear foul. There was a foul where Keegan Murray accidentally popped Jokic in the forehead.
Yep.
Slapping the ball away. And then there was there was another where a player was going into the lane and Keon Ellis fouled him, right? There were like 3 fouls in the fourth. And when you add those to the other fouls, all of a sudden they're in the penalty. And again, I don't think the officiating was great, but I think one of the things we can point to is that they had 4 reviews in the game and the officials were wrong all 4 times. Like, they were overturned 4 times.
That's
like
tough.
There should have been able.
That's a bad look.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where you're like, but just so you know, both teams had them.
Yeah.
And the problem was when the Kings had a replay, they had 2 reviews, they won both of them, and Denver got the ball out of both of them. So even though it didn't end up being free throws or it didn't end up being a basket, whatever, or somebody didn't get a foul, it still ended up being their ball. And so those are ones where you got to think, okay, should I review that or not? Where does the ball go afterwards? And is it a good use of my replay in order to do it? And, again, if there could have been 5 each, I think they probably would have won 5 each bad calls. But that tells you that it was lopsided both ways. And again, they went to the line more than the Kings. They also get in the lane more than the Kings typically. And we can talk about points in the paint being 56 to 52, but 56 to 52. And then how many additional free throw attempts did they get going into the lane? And because they were attacking the rim, probably a handful more.
Yeah. Real quick, this is related but separate. I don't think I'm ever going to understand what's a foul on a 3 and what's not, as far as the high-fiving the shooter goes.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely, Keon got a foul last night for getting Jamal Murray's hand after a free throw or after a 3-pointer. But I've seen that called no call. I've seen it called a foul. I've seen it called a foul and then reviewed and overturned. I've seen it called a foul and then reviewed and not overturned. I have no clue.
That probably,
it's like, what's a swing in baseball and what's not? I have an idea of what I think it is?
Yeah.
But I've seen it called a million different ways. I have no idea.
No, totally. In all honesty, I think that probably would have been if it would have been overturned on review.
Yeah.
But you'd already gone through your 2 reviews at that point, and you didn't have another. So I don't like the review process at all.
Yeah, it's bad. It's not good.
It is, because the only time that you get a review is when they make a call.
Yeah.
Like, for all the times that they miss something, you don't get to review that.
Yeah.
So, again, the DeMar DeRozan foul, where, he's going to the basket and it looked like he got fouled, right?
He did. He got clipped.
Well, there's no way to review that. There isn't a flag you can throw or something. And that's where I think the league is wrong, because it's not just that the officials need to be challenged when they make a call and it's wrong, but they need to be challenged when they don't make a call.
Yeah.
Because there's equal amount of those in a game. To the fouls.
We've got, I have so much more stuff from the actual game last night, but now we're on this for the next minute or so. Here's the issue with it is, in the NFL, reviewing a non-call is a thing you could conceivably do, because a play happens and then the play stops, or there's a span of time before the next play. If DeMar DeRozan's going up or if player A is going up for a layup and gets hacked and there's no call and the opposing team grabs the ball and gets it up the floor and score, there's no stoppage to review the play. And then you can't go backwards and say, okay, well, hang on, take those points out the board, take that next possession up because he got fouled and they reviewed it at the stoppage. So now it's a really tough spot.
It is. Especially with transition basketball.
Yeah, man.
You could throw a flag just to stop transition break.
Yeah.
Just because they're going to score on the other end, just hit the flag.
And maybe there's again, we've got a basketball game to talk about, but maybe there's a solution where if you throw a flat, if you call a review on a non-call and stop play, they get 2 points. Like, if that's how you want to do it. But no, we're not going to solve all the NBA's officiating problems today. We're both on the side that yesterday was still steps forward for the Kings despite the loss. Tough loss in Denver. Again, they would have liked to win 116-110 the final there. The Nuggets get the victory. The Kings still sitting in number 9. We'll take a look around the NBA scoreboard, but we've got actual like gripes from last night too. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. A couple of things that went wrong for the Kings. We'll talk about that next. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Joe Brazil's hanging out with us. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube, and this is The Insiders on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Center. Thanks, Joe. And we're back. Oh, hang on. One last thing. We're talking about work stuff. Sorry, guys.
I can entertain while they're talking. Hello, Miguel. Let's see what we got. If you win both challenges, then you should get a third. It's a good idea. Let's see. Johnny G, what is up? 4 successful challenges is wild. I agree. Lazy's got a point with how they call the fouls on threes.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Hello.
Of course.
I want to address. I want to address this issue. No, this is, dude. Adam Schefter is really good at what he does.
Oh yeah,
he is so annoying. So, somebody today.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to click on.
Salute to Bronson, bro.
Salute to Bronson.
I hope
call him Bronson.
I really want to hear from him today.
Yeah, I would like to.
I would really like to hear
from
him
Bronson today for sure. Adam Schefter tweets today. 49ers have informed defensive tackle Javon Hargrave that he will be released on the first day of the league year next week. Per source, Hargrave will be a free agent. Okay, that's the report.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read you something John Lynch said on January 8th in response to this question. With the contract reworking for Javon Hargrave kind of setting up the post-June 1 release, what have you expressed to him about the plan and what you would expect from him or whatever the case may be? John Lynch says, just that. We had some salary cap challenges, and that was something that allowed for the post-June 1. You can early designate it. And what I told Javon is he's a player we really like, blah, 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 blah. So then someone said, start of free agency, he'll be free to sign? John Lynch said, yes. John Lynch told us on January 8th, Javon Hargrave was going to be released.
Yeah.
Nice, Joe.
Brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
My man. James there, I'm Kyle. He's Joe Brazil. We're rocking with you until noon. Then we'll hand it off to D-Lo and KC. All right. So we talked about like moral victory for the Kings, right?
Yeah.
That's where we went. We went, you know what? And again, this is living in the gray area between the black and white space of win and loss.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, man, you'd rather win, but they played well for the most part. Defensively, I thought they had a great plan. They executed that plan really well. Offensively, they were knocking down shots in the first half. It was just like, man, this was that was a quality basketball game. They went into Denver and they played well enough that if 1 or 2 calls goes their way or 1 or 2 balls of the bounces of the ball goes their way, they win. That's a really good spot to be in as a team.
Yep.
There were a lot of teams that are not at that place when they play Denver, and that's fine. Some nitpicks. Keegan Murray's back.
I'm
7 shots last night, Keegan.
Well,
no Malik Monk.
Look, man. 7 shots. Okay,
We'll get to the other thing.
Okay, so
there's one. Let me real quick. I want to get to the thing that you want to talk about. This is my Keegan 3 for 7 last night. 0 for 2 from 3. There was a play with 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Our ball gets swung out to Keegan in the corner. Nikola Jokic closing out. It wasn't like a wide open 3, but if Keegan catches and shoots, I think he has an open look. Instead, he pump fakes, puts the ball on the deck, gets into the lane, sprays it out to Zach LaVine for a corner 3, and LaVine misses. Again, the result is whatever here. I don't hate that process of putting the ball on the floor, getting to the paint, and getting Zach LaVine an open corner 3.
Yep.
On the other hand, that's the kind of shot I just want Keegan to take.
Okay.
Put it in the air, dog.
I get what you're saying. Here's why I think it stands out. Like, right, because what he did may have been the best basketball play.
It was. I genuinely think it was.
Yeah, and I know when Keegan does get to the lane, he's on 2 feet, which is what Doug asked for.
Yep.
Like on time, on target, pass, all that stuff. The problem is that he only took 7 shots. If he would have taken 14 shots, we wouldn't have minded one shot where he doesn't take the shot and he goes.
That's it.
And I don't feel like a player has to be, you have to say, hey, just be super greedy. Make the right basketball play. But at the same time, like, the fact that we can point to like maybe 1 or 2 instances where he could have got another shot. That's not good enough. Like that he could have taken 8 or he could have taken 9 shots in a game where you don't have 2 of your 26 shots a game, 25 shots a game between Domantas Sabonis and Malik Monk. They can't all just go to one player, Kyle.
They sure can't.
The most ridiculously crazy thing I've ever seen for all of the shots from all of the players that are missing to go to one player. It's just bizarre.
I don't quite get it. DeMar DeRozan last night, man. Look, we've talked about this ad nauseum, and I don't.
Yeah,
it's because DeMar DeRozan is a Hall of Fame player. He's going to go to the Hall of Fame, and I don't want that to get lost.
Yeah, he passed Patrick Ewing last night in the all-time scoring race, right? All-time scoring lead. He moved up another rung.
The problem is he played that game as though that's the result that was going to get a win. He shot it 32 times.
32 times. He scored 35 points, but it took 32 shots to get there.
32 field goal attempts, my guy. That is too many.
I feel like people like, oh, you hate DeMar DeRozan. It's like, no, I don't hate DeMar DeRozan, but there's a version of this situation here where that doesn't happen. And my problem is, Kyle, he started 2 of 12 from the field, and not one of those shots. Sometimes, like he takes shots that go in that you're like, I can't believe he just got that to go in.
7 of them a game.
Somebody draped all over him. There's probably 7 of them. Of the 12 shots that he took to start the game, I think 10 of them like go in the, oh, that wasn't a good shot category. And he just kept shooting. When you start 2 of 12 and no one else on the entire team has got more than like 7 shot attempts at that point, and then you go on to take 20 more shots, Kyle, I don't know. I don't.
But it's a really tough line to walk, because you go to the third quarter and you see him go 7 for 11 from the field, 4 of 5 from beyond the arc. He scores 18 points in that third quarter.
Yeah.
And kept the Kings in the lead, kept the Nuggets at arm's length. But then he goes into the fourth quarter and he goes 2 for 6. And in the second quarter, he was 4 for 11. And in the first quarter, he was 1 for 4. The offense cannot, and we've said this a million times, it just really shined through last night. A, because they didn't have a primary ball handler late in the game with Malik Monk out. B, because the offense devolves into, all right, well, hey, DeMar, bail us out tonight. And it's been really clear through the last few games that that doesn't need to be their offense.
No.
It can be. It doesn't need to be. What's up, Joe?
Last night sort of felt like when you're playing 2K, it's like the My Career game.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what it felt like watching DeMar. It felt like it was his My Career game.
Yes.
He press X, he gets the ball every time. You know, he gets to do whatever he wants.
That's it.
Yeah, that is what it felt like when we were watching it.
Yeah.
1,000%. And that doesn't. It's not. And you're right. It's not that DeMar DeRozan's a bad player. It's not that you don't want a quarter where he goes 7 of 11 from the field and 4 of 5 from 3.
Yeah.
A quarter.
He's
for DeMar
cooking.
DeRozan.
He's shooting 36% from 3 all of a sudden.
Yeah, he's making more than a 3 a game or 1 3 a game for only the second time in his career.
Yeah.
But yeah, you like that quarter was brilliant. He was awesome. But the other quarters they needed that from him because he wasn't as good elsewhere. And there has to be, and this is what we've talked about all year, it was my biggest concern when they signed him. Like, can he do the DeMar DeRozan thing within the flow of the offense? And last night it was not. Last night in doing the DeMar DeRozan, it's DeMar DeRozan time thing, you, to me, harm the offense as a whole.
Well, of course you do. You take the confidence away from your teammates. Like, I don't know if you ever played in a basketball league, but you're going on a 2-on-1 break, and the guy who is like the excellent player on your team, he decides to go 1-on-1 against the guy that goes the one guy that you're playing against on a break.
Yeah.
And he goes over and defends that guy, and he defends your teammate, and you're wide open under the basket, and your teammate makes like 7 more dribbles, 3 spin moves, and throws a ball off the basket. And you're like, boy, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah, right.
You have no faith in the fact that I can hit a 2-foot layup.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's with me specifically. That might be a good thing. Like, I probably would brick a 2-foot layup, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't at least try to do that. And I just feel like on the court, there isn't another personality on the court that is standing up and saying, that's not what we should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. We talk about there's all different types of leadership. And what DeMar, what he does in those moments is he's taking on a leadership role. He's saying, hey, I'm going to backpack this team. But nobody else is saying, hey, maybe it's not time for you to backpack. Maybe we need to get the ball to like a few more touches for Jake LaRavia, a few more touches for Zach LaVine, who shot 8 of his 16 shots in the fourth quarter. He had no opportunity either. Everybody else was sitting in single digit shot attempts for most of the game. I just know that last night was just so glaring. I don't know that I've seen a guy on the Kings shoot 32 shot attempts more than a couple of times, and one of those being like when De'Aaron Fox is going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
32 shot attempts is wild.
Especially 30. If it was Zach LaVine's out, Malik Monk's out, Domantas Sabonis is out,
or if you're 22 for 32,
sure, right, we're not going to be complaining about it.
Yeah.
The reason this matters is to me is this. We've talked time and time again about how the best version of the Kings offense is one where everybody's involved, and this is true for most basketball offenses. I sent you that article yesterday from CBS Sports. Is a really good write-up on the Grizzlies offense, which they're borrowing from this D3 school in Maine.
Yeah, some weird school in Maine that I've never heard of.
And it's just this, the principle of the offense is just like constant motion. They're on a wheel, and it's a space invasion sport. And so when one guy drives, somebody goes and occupies the spot that he was in, and everybody circles, and there's just constant motion. When you get into this, when you get into an offense, it's dribble, 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 contested 18-footer. It's the antithesis of that. You're going backwards. The stat that jumps out to me, and our guy Willsey posted this on Twitter last night, and it is the fundamental stat. 9 assists in the first quarter. 4 assists in the second quarter. Now, 8 assists in the third quarter, where DeMar DeRozan had a 7 of 11 quarter.
Yep.
5 of his 7 shots were assisted.
Yeah.
It was not DeMar DeRozan dribbles the air out of the ball and takes a tough shot. 5 of his 7 makes were assisted, including all of his 3-pointers were assisted. They had 1 assist in the fourth quarter. When the game's getting away from them,
they stop moving the ball.
They stop moving the ball. and then you stop making shots.
Yeah.
So it's again, this is not necessarily to harp on DeMar DeRozan specifically. It's to harp on how many times do we need to see that this version of the Kings just going, hey, one-on-one ball, here we go. Everybody stand around and watch. Is not the most effective version of their offense.
No.
You might be able to win a game here and there. You might be able to beat the Dallas Mavericks in overtime because you get 42 points from DeMar DeRozan. But on a nightly basis, it's not your offense. When a game starts to get tough or you feel it's slipping away, it can't turn into that.
Yeah.
It cannot, because you're going to lose these games.
Yeah. It's just really frustrating because I know that, this is a new group together. And so you're going to rely on things that you might not rely on if you were to have a full training camp and everything else. And, so it's also tough when you pull out basically your two creators on the court. So no Malik Monk and no Domantas Sabonis. And so there are going to be these moments where this is a type of basketball, but I just, again, we were laughing about it last night. James Harden took 8 less shots than DeMar DeRozan did last night and scored 50.
James Harden had 50 last night.
50,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Now he did get to the free throw line for 16 and 20.
Well,
so that's part of it.
It helps. It was vintage Harden last night.
Yeah. But either way, even if he didn't go to the free throw line at all, he still would have scored like 34 points on 24 shots.
Yeah.
And that's just where it becomes like an issue. It really is tough to see one player shoot all of the shots in a game.
It also doesn't help. Is this right? In the second half, the Kings bench scored no points. 0 for 3 for LaRavia, 0 for 1 for Lyles and Fultz.
Yeah, but they didn't play a lot.
Yeah, no, they didn't. Jake LaRavia was outstanding, by the way, in that first half. Holy smokes.
Yeah, he was absolutely spectacular.
The sequence where he hits the 3 and then goes cookies on Jokic and goes in and scores, quick little 5-0 run.
Oh, yeah.
By himself?
Come
on, Jake.
11 points in like 4 minutes and 11 seconds.
Insane.
And to end the
Let
first
him
quarter.
cook.
Yeah, I was totally there for it. And just the confidence from 3.
And
I told you, man, the game before, there's always a moment where if you leave a player in a little bit and say, all right, try to get right.
Yep.
He got right in the Dallas game and then came out and there he was. You're like, oh, look, you feel like you have a seat at the table. That's what it looked like to me. Jake LaRavia finally found his seat at the table.
Yeah.
Before that, it was just like, hey, I'm going to go in and run all of the court and be disruptive and be a good defensive player and all this stuff. But I don't need any shots. I don't need anything else. You get to that game and it just felt like, it's like, okay, I feel comfortable enough to go out there and take some shots that maybe I wouldn't normally.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah, huge reason they jumped out to that early lead. In fact, such a big reason that we're going to make that our Jiffy Lube code word today.
Oh.
We're giving away a $50 Jiffy Lube gift certificate. We're giving away an exclusive Insiders hoodie, courtesy of our friends at Jiffy Lube. The code word you're going to enter at ESPN1320.com. You can't miss the Jiffy Lube contest page. It's front and center. Code word is LaRavia, as in Jake LaRavia. LARAVIA, capital L, capital R.
Okay.
Per sources, wait. Okay. Yeah. Per sources, the capitals don't matter.
Capitals or he did all caps, no caps, and then
some caps
correctly spelled.
I can confirm. Yep, I'm the source.
Perfect.
Yep,
Perfect.
all good. Just go ahead and type in LaRavia. You should be good.
You should be good to go.
LARAVIA. That is our Jiffy Lube code word. Jake LaRavia was very good last night for the Kings. The other thing that stands out or stood out last night, and we're a Sacramento station, so we're talking a lot about the Kings. Denver was just really good offensively in the second half too.
Oh yeah.
They shot 51% from the field in the second half, 22 of 43. They were 11 of 15 from the free throw line. They're a good team, dude. So while we have our gripes with the Kings and little things they've got to work through moving forward, the other side of that is, man, they just hit some big shots.
Well,
Russell Westbrook going 3 of 5 from 3 in the second half.
Russell Westbrook scored 20 in the second half.
Like, yeah. All right. I don't hate that they were leaving him open in the corner. And if he's going to knock him down, salute. He had a couple of big ones. But that's the other side of this coin.
Mm-hmm.
There are things the Kings could have done to win last night. But at the same time, Denver just kind of got rolling.
Yeah.
And the Kings never didn't have enough answers. I shouldn't say had no answers. They didn't have enough answers.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
happens.
Again, you can't have Keegan Murray go 1 for 4 in the second half. He needs more shots. Even Valanciunas finishes with 19 points, but he goes 2 of 4 in the second half. Like the way that they played in the second half was a bit like bottled up.
Yeah.
And, the assist numbers, only 9 assists in the second half. That just can't be the way things go. And I thought they did a good job. Like we talked about it yesterday. You wanted 12 turnovers or less, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had 12. Like they didn't turn the ball over that much, but there's a difference between being in the flow of an offense and turning the ball over.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that they ever truly found like the flow of the offense, which is to be expected. Again, when you don't have your two primary like playmakers.
Yeah. Real quick. Keon in the starting lineup turned out to be fine.
Yep.
Just we got proof positive that it can work. But to this point, somebody was messing with me on the internet, and someone else said the Kings really miss their point guard right now. They were saying this late in the game, and I think that's very true.
Mm-hmm.
Not having an organizer, even if Malik Monk, even if you don't think he's a starting NBA point guard, he's the closest facsimile they have. And not having him to bring the ball up the floor and like getting a little pick and roll or to distribute or do something, I think that played into DeMar DeRozan having the ball in his hands and doing what he's done for more than a decade in the league.
Yeah.
So
almost 2.
Yeah. Almost 2 decades in the league. So I get that. My argument is not that Malik Monk should never play. Malik Monk should be closing games, like for sure. But you have proof positive that if you start the game with Malik Monk on the bench, it's not the end of the world. Just saying.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Keon Ellis finishes with 11.7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks.
Man,
like he just stuffs his stat sheet in a way, and it's like he just wreaks havoc on the defensive end. He's just all over the place and causes problems. Same with LaRavia. Like super impressed with like the defensive motor that LaRavia has.
That's why I was such a big fan of the signing. He just does little things that they don't really have anybody. If you make a list of things that you need on a contender, you need like scorer, distributor, and then you need guys that do like the dirty work, like the glue guys, and he's one of those guys for me.
No, I agree.
And I think you see the maximized version of it last night where he goes 4 of 5 from the field and 3 of 4 from 3 in the first quarter. But again, that's just a little sauce on top. That's not something you're expecting nightly. All right. We'll see if the Kings got any help last night. We'll take a look around the NBA scoreboard. And then we've got some NFL news that we need to get to as well. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Joe Brazil's pushing buttons and doing a bunch of stuff for us here on ESPN 1320, where the Insiders is sponsored by Jiffy Lube, Sacramento Sports Center. I don't know. I think this is right. Different role, but I think this is right.
I just think they're different. I do. Like there are moments where Trey Lyles really helps his team, and there are other moments where he doesn't. Where he just kind of disappears. I think you need both types of players, especially when it comes to injury problems. Like having Trey Lyles is a luxury. Having a guy who can play the 3 and the 4, the 4 and the 5 as being a small ball center, like it gives your offense an element that you just don't, like a lot of teams around the league don't have. And it doesn't matter if he's scoring a bunch of points or he's having a quiet night. He's usually still pretty solid. So
it's, when he's missing a lot of shots, that's where it gets really tough.
Yeah.
How do I have not figured out how in the world to sit where I can make sure my screen is showing. No, that's too much.
It's always the opposite way that you think.
I know. I'm sorry for people who get motion sick. What if there we go. Okay. I just need to move the camera over a little bit. There we go. I'm so used to it. This is different because I'm used to sitting. So where I'm sitting now, we're just going, peeling back the curtain here. I'm sitting at like an angle where I can now look directly at you, and it's easier to see Joe. When I was running the board for the show, I had to sit way over here where the board is because the board is here. I had to sit way over here so I could reach all the buttons.
Yep.
And I had to record the show as well, so I had to reach this computer over here. Whereas now I don't have to do that, and I can sit in a more normal position in relation to where everything is set up on this desk.
Yes.
So this is something that I'm battling right now.
The desk it's got a lot going on. There's multiple keyboards. There's multiple mouses.
Mice?
Mice.
No, it's actually AP style. Mice is like live mice.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, did you see that they turned a mouse into a woolly mammoth?
No.
I'm exaggerating, but they've genetically engineered this mouse so it's fluffy like a woolly mammoth.
What?
Bruh. Crazy. It's adorable. Anyways. In AP style, a computer mouse, the plural is mouses.
Oh, okay. A computer mouse.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I have mouses.
But there's 3 on that side, right?
Yes.
There's 3.
3 keyboards, 3 mouses, 4 monitors.
Yeah. There's a lot going on over there. That's why I don't press buttons.
The thing is, it's funny and Joe, you can attest to this. Once you start running the board, you realize that you need to know if you want to be able to problem solve on the fly, you need to know kind of some in-depth stuff. But to run the show, you need to know like 4 buttons.
That's a secret. You can't give out the secret.
Dude, I'm telling everybody right now.
You can't give out the secret,
You
man.
first look at the board and it's like, oh my God, there's so many things happening.
At first,
it's like, bro, you need this microphone, there's the monitor. Make sure those are up. And then here's the button to send us to break.
Yeah. No, I have 3 keyboards, 3 mouses.
Nice. 4 monitors.
4 monitors too.
Yeah.
So it does kind of feel like a spaceship a little bit, but once you get it down, yeah.
There's Joe.
Oh, we're doing this like I've never seen it happen this way before.
Over there. There it is.
There's Joe. This feels like a really long break.
We got 45 seconds.
All right, cool.
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here?
So 45. We'll do that.
Let's go to the Niners stuff.
Yeah, we'll do that.
I'm in.
Well, too late. We're here, bro. That's fun. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
Kyle Madsen here, James Ham there, Joe Brazil behind the glass. We're the Insiders. Jiffy Lube sponsors this program. We're on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. I know the voice guy just said that, but I wanted to repeat it. Want to put a pin in the Kings and the NBA briefly, because got some Niners stuff clanging around in my head.
Yeah, this is all interesting.
So, real quick, DK Metcalf, we talked about him yesterday. He asked for a trade. Diana Rossini in The Athletic reported that the Seahawks want a first and a third, and then DK Metcalf also wants a contract extension that pays him north of $30 million a year.
But that's a lot.
So it's not guaranteed Metcalf's going anywhere if those are the real parameters. But anyways, that's the Raiders and Pete Carroll want him. So it's going to take, apparently.
They could have him and Lockett.
Price. Lockett's he hasn't officially been released, so technically, I guess. It's a lot of money to take in. Another player who's been released, according to the Los Angeles Chargers, they announced this yesterday, Joey Bosa, brother of Nick Bosa. Obviously, this is a thing that has been on the map for a while. Since the 49ers got Nick Bosa, there's been can they bring in Joey and have the brothers play together? This is their first realistic chance to do that. I'm going to try and operate with nuance on this.
Okay.
Because I think there's a a tendency to overreact to something when you can do something cool. Like, wow, the brothers can play together. That's awesome. Like, yeah, that'd be a fun story. That doesn't mean I'm paying Joey Bosa $25 million a year or something.
No way.
I'm not even paying him $15 million a year. He's played 28 games the last 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a lot of injury problems.
Yeah, and he's 30. He'll be 30 all season. He's
not 30 yet. He's almost 30.
Right. He turns 30 in July, so he'll be 30 all season. If you can get him at a reasonable discount, then I'm all in. My fear is that they get Joey Bosa on a discount and then go, great, we've solved the defensive end problem. And if you get a healthy Joey Bosa for 17 games, okay, maybe. My fear is that they do that and go, okay, we're done here. Cool. Fix the defensive line. And that can't be their only move because you might only have him for like 3 games.
Yeah, it feels like the D Ford situation, right? Where D Ford just never played. When he did play, he was great.
He was awesome.
But when the problem was he never played. And so not only do you need, if you're going to go get him, you still need the guys in the middle because that's where this team really struggled last year.
1,000%.
Yeah, they
very important point.
Yeah, so I don't know how you're going to get, especially if you're dumping Hargrave. Then like how are you going to like stop people in the middle? And you don't have reliable pieces there. You decided last year to go away from Eric Armstead and to go with like whatever you're going to pay him, you broke it up into 2 or 3 players. You figured out pretty quickly that didn't work, or that the 2 or 3 players that you brought in weren't good enough to change the tide. Maybe 1 or 2 of those guys can still be there, but you need more in the middle.
That's it. And maybe at defensive end, they go, yeah, we're going to keep Leonard Floyd and we're going to keep Yetur Gross-Matos, and we're going to bring in Joey Bosa. We'll draft somebody late. We'll hope Robert Beal develops or whatever. I'm just naming people on the roster now. And that'll be it. But you're right, man. There is a lot of work to do up and down their defensive line if they want to be competitive at all this year.
Oh, yeah.
Because that to me, as many injuries as they had on offense, their defensive line was just not good enough. And frankly, we talked about it before the year. Like, hey, I don't know if this group's any good.
Yeah.
They're hoping Drake Jackson comes back.
Oh, no.
And he didn't. It's like Robert Beal, 5th round pick, who was not productive as a rookie. You're hoping he breaks out. Like, that's crazy. I want to dive deep into the Niners defensive end depth chart right now.
No, but you know what I would like if you go to Nick and say, hey, how bad do you want to play with your brother? Because we could probably consider bringing your brother in, but we're not going to be able to do that with you making $32 million and putting up the stats you put up last year. Like, can you take a little bit of a shave here so we can bring your brother in?
So no, they're not, because he was still good last year. Like all the sack numbers specifically weren't there, but like all the peripheral stats say he's still an effective player. But this is the thing, and I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know where people are getting the idea that the 49ers have no cap space.
Oh, no, I know.
Adam freaking Schefter on his podcast is like, they're going to have to make a bunch of cuts to get under the cap. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
They're $33 million under the cap. Now, there are decisions they're going to have to make over the next couple of years, especially if they wind up signing Brock Purdy to a lucrative contract. There's decisions they're going to have to make over the next couple of years that affect their salary cap, whether that means getting rid of players early instead of late, whether that means instead of restructuring a player and kicking their money down the road, letting them go and eating that dead cap now, a la Deebo Samuel, and not having a bunch of dead cap down in the future. Like, I don't think that's unreasonable. But to think that this year, like, hey, man, in order to sign, and I know this isn't what you were saying, but if they were in a spot where they were up against the cap, they were just, you know what, man, they really need to get under, then yeah, maybe they do that. They're like, man, we really want Joey Bosa. Maybe we talk to approach Nick about like a little restructure or something like that. They don't have to.
Okay.
They can just go, yeah, hey, Joey Bosa, here's 2 years, $22 million with $12 million guaranteed. Let's go. Let's do this.
Okay.
And they'd be fine. The cap, and even the Brock Purdy thing, If Brock Purdy's deal gets done this year, that does not it's not going to affect them that much this year, if at all.
Yeah. You might give him a signing bonus, and even that gets distributed over the length of the deal.
Correct.
Yeah, so
it's not like if you sign Brock Purdy to a $60 million a year deal, which I wouldn't do that. But if that's what they do, follow me for a second. If they do that, it's not like, wow, now they have negative $27 million in cap space. No, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
It's not how this works at all.
The NFL salary cap is crazy. It's wild. It's all over the board.
It's kind of bananas.
Yep.
So it's very fungible in ways that the NBA salary cap is not. Like in the NBA, you have stretch provisions.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But in the NFL, you can just like do that constantly.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's kind of like the equivalent of a stretch provision.
Yeah, a little bit. Anyways, yeah, I've seen all this stuff about, because Tim Kawakami's been on this, and he's been saying that the 49ers have been near the top in spending and in cash spending, not necessarily salary cap, because there's a lot of teams that are right there at the top of the salary cap, but like actual cash spending. And he's saying they want to do a reset. And that has been twisted to the 49ers don't want to spend money this year. They're going to.
Yeah, they are like the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors aren't spending as much. They're still spending a ton of money.
Right. And they're printing it.
Yes, they are.
But what they're trying to do is, instead of turning into like, go look at the Saints salary cap situation. It is a freaking mess.
Oh, yeah.
They either have to restructure every player on the roster to get under the salary cap, or cut a bunch of people to get under the salary cap. It's a disaster, because they just kept kicking the salary cap can down the road. Dead money, we'll just push that into the future, push it into the future, push it into the future. And now all of a sudden they're sitting here. Let me check the updated number, because I have not checked lately and I don't know the exact machinations of what the Saints are doing. They are $44.9 million over the cap currently. So the Niners want to avoid that. So what that means is, in situations like with Deebo Samuel, maybe instead of restructuring his contract last year, you trade him a year early. And you start getting into that, you'd rather let a player go a year early than a year late. That's what they're looking at. They're figuring out where they want to distribute that money, and making sure that when they pay a guy, or when they extend a player, or when they restructure him, that it's a player who's going to continue to be effective for them. Instead of restructuring Deebo Samuel, kicking money down the road, and then the next year going, oops. All right, well, here's a bunch of dead money.
It's such a complicated salary cap situation.
Really tough.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA and the NFL, they both have really complicated rules, but like once you learn them, you can understand and play within them. With the NFL, I don't have a grasp on the entire concept.
Sure.
But it sure does feel like you're always kicking the can down the road.
To an extent, for sure.
Yeah, every team is, and you're finding ways to twist and turn the cap at all times. And what money is guaranteed now might not be guaranteed. I mean, still they're going to get their guaranteed money, but you're able to just use it in a different way, and and pay way more than like it's not created equal. Like everybody, you can like violate the rules pretty handily in the NFL within the rules, but sort of like the spirit of the law versus what you're doing, and you just can't do that in the NBA.
Yeah. So I wanted to clear that up in case anybody thinks the 49ers are like up against it. They're not. Over the cap has them down for $29.2 million in effective cap space.
Okay.
And that's the cap space you have after. So they have 34.3 million in actual space, but then to get their roster to 51, their top 51 players, like to get them, it's minimum salaries basically.
Okay. Got it.
That will leave you with 29
cap holds for basic, for 5th, 6th, 7th round picks. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I don't know where this misconception has come from, but when I'm listening to the Adam Schefter podcast, and he's like, yeah, man, their free agents are all gone. They're going to have to cut a bunch of guys. They are way over the cap. It's like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
That's not the case at all. He also reported today, Adam Schefter did, that Javon Hargrave, did I already do this on air?
Yep.
I can't remember if this is during the break or not, but yeah, Javon Hargrave is released, but we've been known that.
He's going to get released on with a July. What is it?
Post June 1.
Post June 1.
But that's just the designation for when his money comes off the books.
Okay.
Which allows you to spread his dead cap hit out over the next couple of years.
Okay.
Instead of taking it all this year.
Yeah, he was solid in his first year of the 49ers. But last year he played 3 games. It's just,
he got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was going to be expensive. They're trying to get younger. I don't hate the idea, but yeah, the idea that they're not going to spend or something like that is, I think, a falsehood. They lead the NFL in dead money, by the way. It's $65.5 million.
Whew.
That's what they're trying to avoid. All right, let's get back to the Kings. I have a take.
Uh-oh.
It's about this DeMar DeRozan stuff we've been discussing. We'll dive into that. We'll dive into the rest of the NBA scoreboard and find out who helped the Kings and who did not last night. My Detroit Pistons, tough night for them. We'll get into it. James Ham, Kyle Mads, and Joe Brazil. We're the Insider, sponsored by Jiffy Lube here on ESPN 1320 and Sacramento Sports Center. Oh, okay, great.
It's weird how they don't have career earnings and stuff for NFL players like they do with NBA, because I think it's so complex. Especially like on Basketball Reference, you can go down to the bottom, you can see all their salary and all that stuff. The NFL, it's different.
I need to go. Do I have time?
You're walking out into a weird situation.
I know. Been avoiding it. I'm gonna go get water.
Okay.
Oh, I got water already. Never mind. Filled up my water bottle before the show.
Yeah.
What happened? Oh, dude, big time.
Tyler Jennings, it's so much money with Watson that it doesn't matter what they do. There's no way to kick it. I mean,
well, it was all fully guaranteed.
Yeah, that's the problem.
But I guess there's a thing because of his injury situation that they'll be able to get out from under some of it. I don't know.
Well, an insurance company will pay for it. So they're not going to pay for it themselves. Like injury settlements, you get they'll take up half of whatever. Like if he could never play again, that would really help the Browns. Eagles have 60 million dead cap this year too. Interesting. Mark Souza. Kevin just run by.
Sure did.
Only Kevin that runs in here.
He sprints. Hour number 2, that's James Ham, I'm Kyle Madsen, Joe Brazil. Behind the Glass. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube, and we're hanging out with you until noon. Then we'll hand it off to D'Lo and KC. ESPN 1320 AM listeners, good morning. Hello. Appreciate you, everybody on the chatty house at youtube.com/ESPN 1320 and twitch.tv/ESPN 1320. We appreciate you as well. Please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube and Twitch. That'd be great. Make us look good.
Yeah. Hit that thumbs up button.
Yeah, hit that little thumbs up. I have a take about the Kings.
I'm here for your take.
We've been talking about DeMar DeRozan. I think the Kings would be, and again, this goes to team building, not skill. I think the Kings would be like 15% better if they had Cam Johnson instead of DeMar DeRozan.
I don't fully disagree.
I say 15. Some percentage. Pick a percentage.
Yeah. I've always said like it was like the idea of DeMar DeRozan, the points per game, all that stuff, versus the actual functionality of DeMar DeRozan.
Right.
Like it doesn't make any sense. And not only that, but it doesn't support the players that you have on the roster already. And it's not because DeMar DeRozan's a bad player.
Nope.
Again, I think DeMar DeRozan coming off the bench for 24 minutes a night would be incredible. I think if you could use him as just like a pure scorer off the bench, that would be one thing.
Sure.
But if you're going to have players like Malik Monk and Zach LaVine in your starting lineup, and if you're going to have Domantas Sabonis, and that's going to be 3 of your starters, it's really tough to not have the other 2 starters just be great defensive players, length, athleticism, everything that you need. And that's why I said this yesterday. I don't know if I said it here with D'Lo and Casey. Like a perfect world for the Kings next season would be a world in which Keegan Murray was your starting small forward.
I would agree.
That's like the perfect world where you found the player that you need to go next to Domas, and long, athletic, can shoot the 3, maybe block some shots, be an okay rebounder, but at least a competent rebounder. If you could do that, a defensive minded guy, even, again, I don't love this player, but the idea of Jeremy Grant next to like that length and athleticism where you would have switchable forwards and all that stuff. That's how like modern basketball is run.
Yeah.
And, Jake LaRavia has been really good, but you need to have a Jake LaRavia off the bench and, that type of player. You also need someone better than Jake LaRavia if you intend on being, a team that gets into the top 4 of the Western Conference and plays home playoff games and stuff.
Yeah, man. It was really glaring last night. And again, this is not every player we just mentioned. DeMar DeRozan's a better player in a vacuum.
Oh yeah.
I want that to be very clear. But when you look at fit and team building, I don't think the Kings have to rely on DeMar DeRozan the way he makes it look like they have to rely on him.
Yes.
Keegan Murray can be taking more shots and being a more effective offensive player. Zach LaVine, I forgot, was playing at points last night. And Zach LaVine should be your number 1 guy.
Yeah, I mean, he was sitting at 8 shot attempts through 3 quarters. He took 8 in the 4th quarter alone. Yeah. He was just waiting, and you could see it was like almost like a confusion, like, what is happening? And that's where, like, again, I keep saying this, like accountability on the court, especially when you take Monk and you take Sabonis out of the picture. I don't think anyone is telling DeMar DeRozan, hey, lighten up a little bit. Like, we get it. We know who you are, but like, there's also a bunch of other players here. I mean, if you're taking 32 shots, you better be on the biggest heater of all time.
Well, yeah, and if you're taking 32 shots and it's because, man, you know what? You're getting to this mid-range spot, and on driving kicks, you're standing 18 feet from the basket and you're getting these open looks, then sure. The fact is he's not taking open looks. You got him in the 3rd quarter, and lo and behold, he goes 7 of 11.
Even a lot of his shots in the 3rd quarter, he was able to get the mismatches that he wanted and take advantage of those players, and that's something that you saw. But in the first half, again, he finishes 3 of 15 in the first half. That's because he hit his final 3 shots. And the Kings were leading the whole first half. You go to the second half, and that's where you see the bulk of his shots come. Again, he ends up taking 17 shots in the second half. I mean, that's a lot of shots for any. And
that's more than Zach LaVine took the entire night. That's more than any other Kings player took the entire night. DeMar DeRozan had that in the second half.
And that was after starting 1 of 8 and 2 of 12 from the field. So that's my biggest gripe. It's like, hey, look, if you don't have it tonight, it's okay.
Yeah.
But you can't. And then I guess he does have it in the second half, but you can't just keep shooting and shooting and shooting and like, hey, I'm going to shoot myself out of this. We'll be good.
The Kings, to me, have too many effective players
Yeah.
And I know it's a little different because Sabonis and Monk are out, but they have too many effective players to just like, hey, you have to go bail us out tonight. It does not have to be that way. And I think it actively hurts the Kings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and people say we're DeMar haters. We're not DeMar haters. I mean, seriously.
No, he's a really good player.
Nah, yeah.
My question
that's
is
crazy.
his fit with this group of players. I think the Kings have better players. There are too many good / effective players to have one guy. And if it was Zach LaVine dribbling the air out of the ball and going, what did he finish? 14 of 32, we'd have the same conversation.
Oh no, totally.
It's DeMar DeRozan's the guy that did it. That's why he's being singled out right now.
Well, that and Sass in the chat says 32 points, 32 shots on 35 points on 32 shots isn't bad, especially when you start off 2 of 10. It was 2 of 12, but yeah, 32 shots to score 35 points is bad by any metric in the NBA. That's not efficient basketball. I mean, I hate to tell people that. That's just, and I agree with this too. If DeRozan can't self-regulate, then DC needs to intervene from Tony. I totally agree with that. I just think that there are moments where you're like, okay, you survived with what DeMar DeRozan bailed you out and saved you in a game. I just didn't feel like last night was a game where
That's it. That's all.
Yeah.
The Dallas game where he had 42 and hit the game winner in overtime, they needed him that night.
That was the only reason they were in that game.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's it.
But the next game where he goes 0 for 7 in the fourth quarter and overtime in the final 5 minutes of regulation and overtime, there was never a moment where he said, oh, maybe I shouldn't be the one taking every single shot. There just wasn't.
It is a fit and an offensive flow problem for me.
Yeah.
That's all.
He's still really good.
Really good player. Going to go to the Hall of Fame.
Well, that and the fact that at age 35, he's out there pouring in 25 points.
Yep.
22 points per game. And you can rely on him for 20 points every single night. Pretty much. You can almost like write it in pen. Like he's been extremely consistent.
Yeah.
But there are certain games where you're just like, you just want to like hit your head on the keyboard. Like, what am I watching?
I think there's a trickle down effect where it adversely impacts the offense.
Oh yeah.
And I think you saw it last night in a 116-110 loss to Denver. Elsewhere in the NBA, here on the Insiders, that's James and Kyle, Joe Brazil, pushing buttons, answering phones and stuff. In fact, you know what? Speaking of the phones, before we get elsewhere in the NBA, our guy Mitch in New Jersey has been kindly waiting on hold. Mitch, I know we're talking Kings now, but you had some Niner stuff you wanted to get to? Hey, Mitch. Goodbye, Mitch. Appreciate you. Wolves 125. Hey, you'll never guess. A team that the Kings needed to lose, the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yep.
Played the Charlotte Hornets.
Of course they did. Charlotte Hornets. They're like on a Kings victory tour. They'll just go around and play all the teams that the Kings need to lose every single night.
It sure feels that way. 125-110 the final. The good news, though.
Yep.
Charlotte doesn't play another consequential West team until March 16th. They play the Clippers.
Okay.
They have a game left against the Kings on April 4th.
Oh, yeah.
And then April 8th, they play the Grizzlies, who the Kings are probably not chasing. But those are the teams of consequence in the West that Charlotte has the rest of the year. So the nightmare of teams the Kings are hoping to lose playing the lowly Charlotte Hornets is coming to an end. Whew. That was brutal.
Yeah.
It's every night. Clippers need to lose tonight. Who they got?
Oh, son of a...
All right. Need Memphis to lose or Minnesota to lose tonight. Who they got?
Charlotte.
Need Dallas to lose tonight. Who they got? It's Charlotte. Anyways. Minnesota also sneaky rolling. They've won 3 in a row.
Oh?
No, it's against Phoenix, Philadelphia, and Charlotte.
Okay.
Which matters. But, man, their schedule is super soft coming up. No, we talked about this yesterday, but their next 15 games, it would not shock me at all if they get right.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have a schedule, but I'll say this, like anytime we talk about a team having a really weak schedule at the end of the season, it's because at some other point in the season, they had a really difficult schedule.
Yeah, no doubt.
The Kings, unfortunately, like they screwed up and weren't good in their easy part of the schedule in the first half of the season. And so now they're going to pay the piper here in the last 20, 21 games, whatever it is, where like they've, win percentage against is ridiculous.
But it's just I think the Wolves might be heading to the same place the Kings are in terms of they're just playing better basketball right now.
Mm-hmm. They are.
Julius Randle's back. He's been playing well. They're beating the teams they need to beat. So I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah.
And they won again last night. The Clippers beat the Pistons 123-115. We mentioned this. Harden 50 points.
24 shot attempts.
A vintage James Harden. Yeah, now he got to the line 20 times and made 16 of them.
Yeah.
Impressive. Like, you score 50 in the NBA, I'm impressed.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, when Quentin Grimes went for, 43 or 44 last week, it's like, what?
44, yeah.
Good for Quentin Grimes.
Yeah, man. So this is not this is purely a personal thing. I still can't stand watching James Harden play.
No.
He was awesome last night. And at 30, what is he, 35?
36, I think.
36 in August.
Okay.
It's 35 going on 36. To score 50 in the NBA is crazy. And they needed it. It wasn't like he scored 50 in a 40-point win.
Mm-hmm.
He scored 50 in a game. They won by 8, and it was really close down the stretch. So he just carried him last night. Now, the good news with the Clippers is I don't think you're going to be able to get that from Harden on a night-in, night-out basis. And Kawhi Leonard also didn't play last night.
Oh, well, that's a big surprise.
A shocker.
Yeah, and, I'd point out, too, like Edgar Fernandez here in the chat says, imagine DeRozan got all those calls. You got to remember that part of the reason why DeRozan doesn't get all those calls, he gets fouled on jump shots all the time, which is just bad defense, right? Like, people get caught on the pump fake and he gets you, right?
Yep.
But James Harden still plays downhill and he still gets into the key and then he throws his body up in the air and he gets the calls. There's just a different way. He's way more aggressive going to the basket as opposed to DeRozan shooting fall away jump shots.
Yep.
And while, again, DeRozan does get fouled on a certain amount of those, it's not very often that you see DeRozan actually go to the basket. And when he does, a lot of times he does get foul calls. But that's the difference. That's why Harden's shooting, 16 or 18 or whatever it was, free throws, and DeRozan's not.
It's also important to remember when you're trying to draw fouls and foul grifting, those calls aren't always going to be there in the playoffs for you. Whistle's going to get swallowed.
Well, that's why James Harden gets bounced almost every year his entire career. Yeah.
Anyways, he was awesome last night for the Clippers. Holy smokes.
Wow, did we just figure out the weak link to the Oklahoma City Thunder? What if Shea isn't able to foul grift in the playoffs?
That would be nuts.
Yeah.
If they just get bounced early because Shea's not getting calls.
I think we have Mitch back on the line.
Do we?
We do.
All right, it's his last chance. Go ahead, Mitch.
Oh, James, I apologize.
What's up, Mitch?
This Wi-Fi in this gym is not good sometimes.
You're calling us from the gym?
Yeah, I'd rather talk to you guys than work out, to be honest.
Well, GTL right now.
Go ahead, Mitch. What do you got?
And my grandson, yesterday, got sent home 2.5. He got lice, so I think that's probably I'm going to be looking at later on in the day here. So anyway, I'll fight through it.
You got it, buddy.
It's like an incubator with these daycare centers. Every germ they get, they just pass it on with each other, and it gets to me.
I'm saying, preaching to the choir, Mitch.
I see with the rest, the checks in the mail. I'm glad they picked up, drafted Devon Carter, Devin Carter, Crowder, Fultz. You add them all up, it's 0 points. And of course, McBuckets, I forgot his name. I know they're going to roast me on the chat, but go ahead. He's over the hill. Football, make it quick. They better get Bosa. They have no excuse. Don't think about it. Don't overpay. Pay what Curry's worth, and you'll fit it in. And I want the Raiders, if they're going to have to think about Aaron Rodgers, think Sam Darnold instead. Thanks again.
Appreciate you, Mitch. My guy just on the treadie giving us a buzz. I love it.
With lice.
With lice, I guess. Like an incubator. I love that guy.
Mitch.
All right.
Oh, my goodness. There he is spreading his lice in the gym.
I don't think he has it.
Well, he said he's going to get it.
That's just maybe
amazing.
That's why he's at the gym trying to stay away. Although the gym, if I'm trying to get away from a germ-infested place, going to the gym is not probably my first spot.
No.
Last thing real quick here on games last night. The Kings did get a loss from the Dallas Mavericks. I think we're going to probably get a lot of those. 137-107 the final. Poor Mavs.
Ugh.
Down 13 after 1, 19 after 2, 27 after 3, and they lost by 30. Poor guys.
Yep.
The Celtics did an insane thing last night. If you did not see that, we'll give you some of the craziest numbers that you've ever seen in your life. And then Adam Schefter painted a nightmare scenario for the 49ers with Brock Purdy's contract scenario. And we will talk nightmare scenario with Brock Purdy's contract scenario. Nightmare scenario with Brock Purdy's contract situation.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that next. James Ham, Joe Brazil, Kyle Madsen, Insiders, Jiffy Lube, et cetera, et cetera. Joe, go ahead. Tell TC we'll get to him.
Oh, my goodness.
Just let TC know we're going to get to him here.
Hmm.
We're back.
Ryan, we scrutinized the hell out of the Levine trade for specific reasons. You're taking on an almost 30-year-old player who I think he turns 30 any day, who's owed a ton of money and who has a bunch of injury history. But we never once said that Levine shouldn't be your first option on offense. That dude is extremely talented offensively. We've said it the entire time.
There's two prongs to the Zach LaVine discussion. There's the present of like, all right, you got him. He's on your team. How can you best use him? And there's the prong of, is this the right long-term build? And I think you and I are, I for the most part, and I think I like Zach LaVine a little more than you do. It's like a long-term piece. But I'm still like, I'm not moved.
Well, no,
I mean, but in the short term, like, yeah, hey, he needs to be your primary option. He's your best offensive player.
Yeah.
I guess that's been the case from the jump. I've never gotten the idea that you're thinking on that is any different than that.
No, I don't have any, like, again, I think, first of all, he's a nice guy. He's great with the media so far. Like, everything that we've, like, with him, it's been, like, straightforward. They're just, like, you can't look at somebody's 11-year career and not analyze the flaws in their career and act like that they're just going to get better because they play in a different situation. Like, I'm not going to be dishonest with people and paint a picture that's completely wrong. Now, it does happen where a player goes to a different team at age 29, 30, and the pieces around them are different, and their stats translate, and they're really good players for that team. And I think his stats have translated. I didn't freak out when Zach LaVine was missing shots all the time. I don't think that's who he is as a player. And I think he can work with Sabonis, and I think he can work with Valanciunas.
Don't forget to record.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
Also, Joe Brazil, he's here as well. See what the Celtics did last night?
This is wild.
Do you want to come in here and talk about this?
Jesse's here.
Yeah, Jesse, our resident Celtics fan, is here, and he just gave me a big thumbs up. Bro, you sent me a graphic of this, like I don't know, like a post-game graphic.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
And I thought it was a joke.
No.
I thought it was and I look at him like, okay, what's the bit here? And then it all kind of hit me that it was not a bit.
No.
The Boston Celtics last night beat the Blazers 128-118. That is not shocking. Derek White scored 41 points on 9 of 17 from 3. Shout out to the Bald Gang. Peyton Pritchard off the bench scored 43 points on 10 of 16 from 3. Those two performances happened for two guys on the same team. Peyton Pritchard also, by the way, added 10 rebounds and 5 assists.
Derek White has low-key become Michael Jordan since he became bald.
Thank you.
Like really, like I'm being serious. Like he had that final series in 2022 or whatever, shaved his head, and has just been MJ since. It's been insane.
The run for Derek White since shaving his head.
All-time bald player.
All-time top Mount Rushmore of bald guys in the NBA. Wins an NBA title. Wins a gold medal. Well, makes Team USA.
Yep.
Wins a gold medal. And is now having the best season of his career after having the best season of his career.
Pretty much.
And he might win another championship this year.
Also hilarious with the history the Celtics have that it's Peyton Pritchard and Derek White, the only to ever go for 40 and 40.
You have Tatum and Brown. And everyone goes, who's Tatum or Brown? Tatum or Brown? Like very obviously Jason Tatum. But yeah, these are the two guys to do it.
It's a great night.
They go 19 of 33 from 3.
19 of 33.
That's just bonkers. Yeah, like I don't even know what to say.
Jesse, I want to bring Jesse back in here. Jesse Tapia from D-Lo and Casey.
Shout out.
Were you watching all 48 minutes last night?
Not all 48 minutes. I caught like pretty much all the first 3 quarters, and then because I was here, and then I left, and pretty much caught the 4th quarter like on the recaps.
Was there a moment where you're like, oh, like something? Was there a specific moment where you went, oh, something different's happening?
There's not a moment, but like Derek White will just launch up like a few threes. It's like, oh, these are going in tonight, and it just happens. Oh, he's got 10 or 9.
That's how
Peyton Pritchard kind of shocked me because it's like, oh, like Peyton's been really good. He might be 6th man of the year this year, but I think he was 10 threes.
10 of 16.
That was shocking. He was 1 off the Celtics record.
10 of 16.
I just think it's wild that you go into a game, and again, they didn't have Jason Tatum didn't play, so Sam Hauser, Al Horford, and Luke Cornett started. So Porzingis didn't play it either, but you got Jaylen Brown. You know, you still have players that have been with this team forever. To see these two guys combined for 84 points,
that's insane.
2 dudes, including one off the bench. That is absolutely crazy. Although I do believe the night that that the Kings scored 176, both Fox and Monk both scored 40 plus. Monk had his career high 45 in that game, and that was off the bench.
Man.
Yeah. But that was, again, a double overtime game. This was not a double overtime game.
No, it was regulation.
Yeah.
According to our guy Keith Smith from Spot Track, first time in NBA history, the two teammates have hit at least 9 threes in the same game. Yeah, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson played on the same team. Never did that.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
First time in Celtics history that 2 teammates have gone for 40 plus in the same game. Celtics history.
That again, that doesn't make any sense.
There's so many good players who have played together on the Celtics. They've never scored 40 in the same game.
Even like I would have thought that there was a game where Antoine Walker and Paul Pierce both went for 40. Like you would have thought that at some point in their careers they both would have gone for 40, but that's absolutely crazy.
Man, what a game. I don't. I'm sure at some point we'll see that again. but 19 made threes from 2 teammates. That means one guy needs to get hot, and then another guy needs to get hot, and then they both need to get fed, and then they both need to hit their shots and stay hot.
Yeah, that's just. I mean, they
Ridiculous.
go 23 of 54 from the field from 3. That's crazy.
Ridiculous.
Well, especially when they shot 97 shots. Wow. I mean, like well over half of their shots were from 3.
Ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Let's get back to the Kings with our guy TC. TC, what's going on, brother?
Man, kind of, hey, you know what? Not really a moral victory. I've seen some nice things, but I'm still frustrated, right? So, Hammer, first of all, Ham and Kyle, what's up, man?
What's up, TC?
Vibing.
I'm with the whole DeRozan. Like, everybody got their own feelings about that, right? Like, when he's on, he's on. But last night, bro, we lost that game simple, bro, because DeRozan started taking a bunch of shots. No matter how you feel, no matter how you come on here, these airwaves, bro, that's the truth. We lost a game last night with DeRozan taking a bunch of shots. When he hitting like Dallas, it's all gravy, bro. But, like, him going in these modes, like, I get it, Hall of Famer, you want a guy, all Kings fans, we looking for, like, but no, bro, you got to know when you're not on, you got to swing the ball, bro. And if we don't, like, go down like this with DeRozan taking a bunch of shots, I'd rather go back to the live by the threes, right? Shoot a bunch of three. Like, if we got to die like that, bro, I don't want to die like that, Colin Ham. That's all I got, bro. That was on DeRozan last night, man. Simple as that. I'm going.
Right. Thanks, TC. I agree.
Well, I don't think they lost the game because of DeRozan. But I don't think that they were the maximized version of themselves. Yeah. Like, again, as opposed to being up 10 at half and when you were up 14 and kind of let go of the rope and then DeRozan hit a couple of shots there at the end of the half, this game could have been well out of reach. Like, they were the better team, moving the ball, sharing, a bunch of guys scoring early on. And then it just kind of like, okay, like you've got to try something different. This isn't what is happening, isn't working. Now you get to the third quarter and it's working again.
Mm-hmm. But again, 7 made shots for DeRozan in that quarter, 5 of them assisted. Like that's where it's less that he's taking shots or anyone. And again, DeMar is the guy here, but anyone dribbling the air out of the ball to settle for tough shots is not the move for any team in any offense. Like, that's just basketball. If he's going to knock down a bunch of threes and he's hitting mid-range jumpers off assists, great.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, he gets the ball on a dribble handoff, he gets downhill, stops, pump fakes, pops, gets the end one hit. Okay, cool. But there's no version of the Kings offense, whether it's Malik Monk or Domantas Sabonis or DeMar DeRozan or Zach LaVine or Keegan Murray or otherwise, where them dribbling the air out of the ball to settle for a tough contested jumper is good offense.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think TC used the phrase, no, you used the phrase, TC, one of you used the phrase, the maximized version of themselves.
Oh yeah, that's why I said that. The maximized version of the Kings isn't that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the gripe I have. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that was a game plan. Maybe they went in saying, hey, DeMar, we want you to take as many shots as possible tonight. Like, hey, we don't have Domas, we don't have Malik. You take every single shot that you possibly can get. But I just don't know. Like, if you're Zach LaVine, you're like, hey,
okay, so cool.
What about me?
If that's what you're doing, then why did you get Zach LaVine?
Yeah.
Why is he here?
Yeah.
If the game plan for any game is going to be, hey, DeMar, go do tough jumpers, and just that's it. Take 32 shots. Take 35 of them. I don't care. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Especially when we've seen time and time again, when the ball moves, their offense is better.
They're just better. Straight up.
I'll go back to this. I read this stat earlier, and I will read it again. And again, this is to try and move it away from DeMar DeRozan. This is just the Kings offense. Again, our guy Will Z pointed this out on the internet. 9 assists first quarter, 4 assists second quarter, 8 assists third quarter, 1 in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth quarter where you got blown out.
And 8 of those assists in the third quarter were on.
We're good.
We're very specifically on plays that DeMar DeRozan scored on.
Yep.
Like, we're not saying don't score. We're saying score within the flow of the offense.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I don't care if he averages 20-something a game. I don't. Like, you need points in the NBA.
Yes.
I mean, every night you got to score like 112
Mm-hmm.
to be a competitive team in the NBA, in the modern NBA. You probably need to score 120 most nights if you're the Kings. So, like, somebody has to score, but like there's a way to distribute shots differently.
That's it. I agree. I think we've landed here. If anyone thinks we still hate DeMar DeRozan, then it's on them. DeMar DeRozan, good player. Kings offense, not good when one guy takes all the shots. Or takes all the shots and they're not dishing out assists as well.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get back to some football stuff real quick. Because Adam Schefter on his podcast, the Adam Schefter podcast, oddly enough.
Yep. It's like the James Ham and Kyle Madsen show.
Yeah. The James Ham and Kyle Madsen show with James Ham and Kyle Madsen. Kind of laid out what I believe is a nightmare scenario for the 49ers and Brock Purdy.
Okay.
And I only bring this up because it's Adam Schefter who said it and not Rando. He said it's not a lock that Brock Purdy's deal gets done this year. And then he laid out the scenario where they let him play this year on his $5.1 million deal, because there's like, if you're a late round pick and you way outperform your contract, you get like additional money.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd cost $5.1 million this year. I think 5.1 is the number. And then he does the franchise tag thing where you franchise tag him in 2026, you franchise tag him again in 2027. And what that basically equates to is you're paying Brock Purdy over the next 3 years, $97 million. So 32-ish a year, a little over 32 a year.
Okay.
Which is a great deal for a quarterback, right?
Oh, yeah, that's spectacular if you're the 49ers.
But again, for me, this is a disaster scenario, not because of the finances, but because every offseason, you now go into the year going, well, are they committed to their quarterback?
Question marks everywhere.
And you can't have that. You can't.
No, I get it, but this is a negotiating ploy. This is part of it. Like, hey, like, he's not going anywhere. You're tied up for the next 3 years, and feelings and opinions can change all the time. And if you're the 49ers, you're in the position of power where you have these options of extending out his career with the 49ers by using the franchise tag.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Brock Purdy, you want a long-term deal here. Like, he wants to be the quarterback of the 49ers. He wants to get paid, for what the play that he has on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the 49ers still do have leverage in this situation. And, you don't want to be put in a situation where you're always like kicking the can down the road, which is like standard 49ers operating,
sure.
Procedure here. But at the same time, if you're the team, you have to try to at least have some leverage, because, again,
I agree.
Like, getting a guy at 40 million versus 50 million, that $10 million can really come in handy. That's basically most of what you're going to pay your draft class, like a good percentage of your draft class. And so there is a way in which you need to like be financially responsible.
I would agree.
But you also don't want to string this thing out and have it be contentious like this, because that's not what anyone wants to see.
Especially at quarterback, especially with when you've seen the adverse effect it had on Nick Bosa, the adverse effect it had on Brandon Ayuk, the adverse effect it had on Trent Williams. Like, this is not where the route you want to go with your quarterback. But what you just said is what complicates it. If Brock Purdy was a bona fide A1 tier 1 quarterback, there's no question. Pay him at the top of the market, signed, sealed, delivered, let's go. The reason this is an issue, or the reason it's messy, is because the Niners are like, yeah, hey, we want to pay you, we want to keep you around, but also we need some financial flexibility to make sure that we're putting the pieces around you where you can be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So, like we talked about yesterday, there was that report that the Niners' first offer was $45 million. It's like, man, seems kind of reasonable to me. And if Brock Purdy and his agent are going to put their foot down at 61 because they want to be the highest paid quarterback in the league, then I could see the Niners doing this. But
that's tough.
But for me, if it's the difference between 45 and Brock's like, nah, I need 50, then do it. The stability of knowing who your quarterback is so much more valuable than that few million annually. And again, you can also structure that deal so a bunch of that money is fake.
Yep.
And it just looks ceremonially like, man, look how much he's being paid annually. where really it's like, yeah, it's a 3-year deal with a trapdoor in the fourth where you can get out of it.
Yeah. Well, that, and if you just want to franchise tag a guy every year, just because you have that option, it doesn't mean that he doesn't still have the option to just sit out and then come back later in the year and say, okay, at least I got my year of service in.
Yeah.
But that's not what you want to do with your starting quarterback.
Well, it's just not.
It's not good business.
It's not. It's saying the quiet part out loud that, like, hey, we're not sure we want to pay this guy what he's asking for.
Mm-hmm.
But you also can't let him walk because he's won you some games. And when you find a quarterback who can win games in the NFL, you kind of got to keep him around. But also you can't. Okay, so let's pretend. Let's go down this road. They say, hey, you know what, Brock? We're going to table the contract stuff. You go play out this year. You show us. And then we'll talk again next year. And he plays really well. And you go, okay, we'll franchise tag you. We'll franchise tag you at $41 million or whatever. I don't know exactly what the number would be.
Mm-hmm.
But let's franchise tag you. And that's what we'll do. Because that means the question is just going to linger all through the 2025 season. Oh, man, every interception he throws, every incompletion, every game they lose, every fumble he has with the game on the line, it's going to be like, oh, man, that's why, oh, boy. And that's just going to be the fulcrum that the discussion around your team sits on. It's not going to matter what Nick Bosa does or Fred Warner or Brandon Ayuk or Christian McCaffrey or George Kittle, whatever draft picks you have, whatever they do, it's all going to come down to the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And, hey, are you committing to this? Or if next week he throws a game-winning touchdown and you beat the Seahawks on the road, it's like, oh, man, well, now you have to pay him. Then he doesn't play as well next week. I go, ooh, didn't play well, but they still won. What are you going to do? And you're going to perpetually live in this cycle until you get to 2027. And now you're either paying him top of market money or you're letting him walk and you're starting at ground zero again. Like
it's a tough situation.
It is. I'm not trying to say it's easy. If that's the route they're going to go, if they're going to go, cool, we're pulling the leverage card. We're going to franchise tag you and we're just going to kick this discussion down the road until 2028 is what it would be. That offseason, gross. That is not setting yourselves up for success at all.
No.
Anyways.
I'm with you, Kyle.
But you're right. The fact that Schefter is laying this out means that
somebody
from the Niners has been like, hey, FYI. But also, here's the other thing. Schefter's understanding of the Niners cap situation makes me question his take on this. Like, this is definitely a route the Niners could go, but Adam Schefter also thinks that they're over the salary cap.
Yeah.
Which I don't quite understand.
It's a tough look.
Anyways. All right. We got the handoff coming up. One of D'Lo or Casey will be in. Maybe, I hope. We'll get back to the Kings. We'll take a look around the NBA scoreboard tonight. Kings don't play, but when the standings look like they do, every single night matters, so we'll tell you what games matter tonight. He's James. I'm Kyle. Joe Brazil's behind the glass. We're the Insiders on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Center.
What's going on, everybody?
I do this every time. I will scroll up for a minute.
Yeah.
And then not get to scrolling back down. I did star this one, though. Good question. So many options to choose from. I have so much cereal in the crib. Man. I'm going to have to get back to you on this. I got one of those weird, like, healthy cereals at Trader Joe's. It's very good. They're kind of like cornflakes, but they're, like, crunchier. It's almost like a cross between a cornflake and a granola.
Oh.
Dynamite. Really good.
It clearly was sprayed with the varnish that Clark W. Griswold came up with. So, remember that's the spray he puts on the saucer.
Every National Lampoon thing goes over my head.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Christmas Vacation? Really? Yep. He invented a spray for cereal so your cereal doesn't get soggy in milk. And that's what he puts on the saucer and flies down the hill. It's like a spray on varnish.
Got it.
That's funny. That's funny.
All right. There we go.
See, I agree with this, Biggity Blake. Why is asking for ball movement seen as an attack on DeMar? We're not. Like, if it's within the flow of the offense, score. Like, and there are times where you need him to bail you out.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, without any question. Like, Zach Randolph, anytime that there was a big run from the other team and it hits 6 or hits 8, you feed Zebo every single time, and he goes into the block and stops the run of the other team. I totally get that concept. I don't think I'm.
Yeah. You won't miss it. I'll make it obvious.
Did you read the email?
Mm-hmm.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
I'm Kyle. He's James. If you call the Elk Grove Kia talk line at 916-909-1320, that's 916-909-1320. You can talk to Joe Brazil before you talk to us. Somebody in the chat brought this up, and I had not even thought about this. Our guy, PE Time, said, how great would it be if Zach LaVine gets all NBA in place of Fox? So there's a couple of things here. One, not ruling that out. He's averaging 23.6, 4.6, and 4.4 points, rebounds, assists. He's 50.8% from the field, 43.6% from 3, and 81.4% from the free throw line. So he's probably not getting a 50, 40, 90. But when you start looking around at all the players, all the All-NBA guys who are not going to hit 65 games.
Oh, it's a lot, man.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that's why I started. Sabonis is in line.
Sabonis, the only, he's going, I think he's going to make it. I would be shocked if he didn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, AD is now going to be ineligible.
Because the All-Star thing, it's separate from the All-Star thing. It's different. It's a different voting process.
Well, that, and they don't do positions. It's positionless now, so that may or may not hurt Sabonis. But I can't imagine voters going in and having, the option of choosing all NBA centers. Wembanyama isn't eligible.
He's out.
So maybe Jaren Jackson sneaks in and takes an all NBA spot. That's a possibility. Oh, there's Damian Barley.
Hey, man. And we're trying to do a professional radio program here, am I right?
You're not on commercial? Are we live now?
Yeah, we're live.
We are live.
From the worst slums of Sacramento.
Very nice.
Yeah, I got you.
Good. Thank you.
Greatest radio show intro in Sacramento. You guys every day.
Oh, thanks.
I say it to myself in there while I'm cutting video.
Yeah,
you get the Young Zell song. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Then just all your noises and your drops. It's great. It's always a good time.
We just try to have fun, man. We figure if we're having fun, everybody else is having fun too.
We're the anti-fun police.
Yeah,
so.
we're not having a good time today. Straight up.
3 days a week, whenever 3 o'clock comes around, it goes, fun's over. James is on the way. Be a professional. And then we just try to rope James into the fun a little bit and make him laugh. Tell him about fake James Ham at the club. And
yeah,
that was fun.
There's a fake James Ham at the club.
Oh yeah,
I didn't tell you that story. Yeah, we were at the mix celebrating my man's birthday.
James Canadian Bacon, huh?
There was a and we're waiting for everybody to arrive. And Katie goes, "Hey, there's James Ham," And I just looked at her. I was like, there's no way James Ham is here.
Nope.
She goes, no, look, there's a fake James Ham right there. And I look over, and sure enough, I swear to God, it was a fake James Ham. They called him in the chat James Scam. And so
there it is.
And then we created this whole like fake life for James where like, where's fake James going? Well, he's probably going to get another Tequila Cosmo, or like, what's fake James doing right now? I don't know. Who's having more fun right now, fake James or real James? And we start doing play-by-play on fake James's life. And then like, the crew, gets here, and we go to the booth, and she's like, we got to get a picture. Like, we've got to get a picture of fake James to send to the chat. And
or to send to real James.
We were going to send it to everybody. But so we start kind of like stalking fake James, but then like, we just lost him. We lost fake James.
You had a booth at a club, and you decided to vacate the booth to stalk a person that looked like your coworker.
Yeah, that's I realize that might sound strange. But
that's a paper championship right there.
You don't understand. We had an emotional
Get
investment.
Out of the way, bottle service lady.
We had an emotional investment into fake James. We had built this entire life for fake James.
You
Ham.
built a relationship with fake
and
James
he
Ham.
never met us.
Fake relationship with fake James.
We
Ham.
built this like life where he just like got away from the kids and wife for a night, and he was out with his buddies, and fake James. When James
covers
gets
the Stockton Kings.
When fake James gets like not fake James, real James gets the fresh haircut. That was what fake James looked like. He looked like fresh haircut James Ham. He was maybe an inch. He was a little bit taller, but if James was going to the club, he had on what James would have wore to the club.
All right.
Quarter zip sweater and khakis.
So that's game. That's a game James Ham.
Okay.
But like he had like, a nice little shirt tucked in, belt showing, look good, but look like what I would expect James Ham at the mix to look like.
Okay.
It was awesome. You had to be there. It was terrific.
I'm glad they had a good time. That's all
We did. That was really a great time with friends. My best friend in the world, like the whole thing.
Fake James is your best friend in the world?
No. Io's my best friend.
Io, the homie. Yeah.
But building, but sitting with Katie in that club and building fake James's life was tremendous.
That's right.
That's right. Fake James Ham loves ISO DeMar.
Fake
James is
he loved it last night.
Big Zach LaVine guy. Big Zach LaVine guy is fake James.
Dude, Io is hilarious because
yes, he is.
When there's a shindig at your place, when Io pulls up, it's like, oh man, it might be time to go to bed.
Yeah, it's facts.
Like he's 11:30 midnight.
It wasn't that far off of what happened on Saturday. It was like I'm telling Katie, this is. Let me explain this to you, okay?
It's gonna go a little bit different.
We're going to leave hours after you're used to being asleep, like hours. I don't understand.
We're leaving tomorrow morning.
We're leaving the house at like 10:30.
Oh,
so we left at like 10:15.
Oh God.
We got there at 10:45. Io was supposed to be there at 10:30. I knew he wasn't. And he wound up showing up at like 11:15. And I was like, this is life with my man.
All right.
This is what it's like. 11:15 was actually kind of early. I was a little bit surprised.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we had a good night, man. It was fun. I just wish I could have found fake James Ham.
I'm glad I could entertain you. Even though I wasn't there.
You have no idea how much joy you brought us on Saturday night.
I'm saying yes to moral victories today.
Really?
Yeah, man. Usually people are like, no moral victory. We want to win. It's like, I get it. You'd rather win that game than lose it. But I went into last night like, hey, man, can they keep this under 20? And I thought they played well enough to win for the most part with a couple of gripes here and there. I don't think last night undid any of the progress I think they've made over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, sure. Like I think you can like
they just lost a game to a good team.
Yeah, like I think you can lose the game and evaluate the game in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Like just in a singular component. In a singular component for me, that game was frustrating because they could they could have they controlled that game.
No doubt.
I thought they were terrific.
Yep.
A lot of what they did in the third quarter, they did in the fourth, and it didn't work.
Sure.
And so that was obviously problematic. But I know we're kind of at the point where, we have to evaluate everything in the grand scheme. There's 21 games left.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's like, okay, we have to oversee everything and perhaps overanalyze it. But in reality, it's not a moral victory to me. It's just like, damn, they kind of let one slip away. They weren't bad. They just kind of let one slip away in the fourth quarter. It's like, okay, that's okay. It doesn't become a problem until you lose 3 of the next 4. Then it's like, well, damn, you had the Denver game. Mm-hmm. You completely outplayed them. You let Jokic's, non-minutes beat your ass at the start of the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. And you stuck with the ISO ball that was really effective in the third, but ultimately killed you in the fourth. And you called up a play for Jack LaRavia. That was tough. Jack too. That's fake Jake LaRavia as Jack LaRavia.
A little bit shorter.
A little bit shorter. Little bit shorter.
Looks a lot like McLovin.
Well, but you called up a play for Jake LaRavia, and it was like, all right, well, this kind of got weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think you have to take moral victories away from it, but I don't think you have to be overly
taking moral victories.
Frustrated either. It's fine.
If you're looking at the final 22 games going into last night, you almost write that off as a loss. That's a team that's in the standings way above you.
That's why I was ready for them to get waxed last night.
Yeah, they're at home. They ended up having almost all of their players, even though all of them were questionable. I thought it was a very, very good opportunity to win a game, but I also did not expect them to win that game.
I called it. I called it like I made this up. It was a measuring stick game, and I thought they measured up pretty well.
I think so too.
Against the second or third best team in the West.
And if that's at home,
not a bad spot to be in.
You might win that game at home.
Yeah,
it might be different.
Whistle
you might win that
be
game
a little different. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, any place that the whistles are different would be good for the Kings because that was bad.
You saw they had 4 calls
so bad.
Reversed.
Yeah, weren't they all in a row?
They were all. Well, I think one was early, and then there were 3.
It was terrible.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was awful. Really?
Yeah, I didn't. It wasn't.
I thought the officiating was pretty bad. Oh no! I think you can say 2 different things. The officiating was bad. You run ISO ball and take mid-range jumpers, it's probably going to be hard to get a foul call.
Sure.
But I
agree.
I thought the officiating was terrible.
All right.
Well, I thought it was terrible.
Michael Malone shot twice as many free throws as the Kings did, and he was bitching about it.
All right, well, I quit. How's that sound?
Mike Malone doesn't do anything without bitching. You should tell your boy to calm down. That dude lives in a perpetual state of anger.
He really hates the Kings a lot.
He does. He really hates
them a lot.
Yeah, he does.
You know what I don't hate?
He hates everything.
You know what I don't hate is winning on underdog.
Oh.
I went 4 out of 4 a couple nights ago, 3 out of 3 last night with my lineup. I had Zach LaVine higher than 2.5 made threes. He made 3. Christian Brown higher than 23.5 points, rebounds, assists. He had 24. And Jonas Valanciunas higher than 9.5 rebounds. That was easy work. He had 13. Would love for you to play along on the underdog. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Joe, we'll fix that in post. Would love for you to play along on the Underdog app. Their pick'em game, super easy. 2 or more players. You pick higher or lower on their stats. You going up to 1,000 times your entry. Download the Underdog app now and sign up now using the promo code KyleM to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus credit when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with promo code KyleM. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus credit instantly upon first deposit.
It's good.
Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncbgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
Boom.
Bang, bang.
That was a lot.
Thanks, man.
24 over here, 25. That's what I get every time.
Yeah.
Good work.
Cooking. Thanks, man. And I won my lineup last night. I hope everybody's following my picks.
Go, Kyle.
What do you guys got coming up on D-Lo and KC?
Well, we got prize picks on the way. That's a true story. What do we got? It's Thursday. Matt George will be with us. We'll talk a lot about the Kings. Shaq said something the other night about Steph that I think deserves a little bit of attention too, because I rarely ever say this. I think Shaq was right. In fact, I don't think I ever say that. I think Shaq was right. So we'll talk about that at some point. I know what he said.
This makes my heart so happy. I think
it's absolutely true. I think it's absolutely true. So all of that, plus obviously a lot of Kings Nuggets stuff.
Naturally. D'Lo, KC coming up next. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. He is Joe Brazil behind the glass. We'll be back with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. right here on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. Until then, drink water, be nice to people. See you.